Today, I would like to maybe start with a small introduction for the first event opening and introductory speech. I believe it's time for us to dive into the content and to start. So for the introductory words, I would like to welcome you, Hagen, Mr. Hagen Entner, the Program Director, EU for Business, React for EU, and GIZ. Please, Hagen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ivana. It's also a great pleasure and honor for me to be here today and start with a little bit of background of this landmark project, in which context that took place. And for that, I wanted to, if it works now, just show you 3 slides in which project context this project was implemented. So we are actually a bit of a bigger program which evolved during this troubling times for Ukraine, first in the COVID-19 pandemic and then after the full-scale invasion throughout a 5-year period. So we started off in 2020 as a program supporting competitiveness and internationalization, also working on the implementation of the association agreement. And then, of course, in 2020, this context changed already for the first time quite significantly with the COVID-19 pandemic and then with the full-scale invasion as well. And that also meant for us as a program that our scope was broadened quite significantly over this period of time. And this is, you can see here on this slide. So we as a program commissioned by the German government with co-funding from the European Union and also from Norway. As I mentioned, broadened our scope quite significantly, worked on regulatory and the administrative environment, so also reducing technical barriers to trade, working on improved local and economic development in mid-sized cities. And then after the full-scale invasion, we also supported business resilience quite a lot. So provided grant support to micro, small and medium enterprises in war-affected areas and all that. And that was from our discussions in 2022 with the European delegation. So we discussed another new project, the EU for Business SME Recovery Program, where initially we had a very strong focus on this resilience support. So it was more about business continuity, just keep business running. But then at that time already we thought, okay, that won't be forever. The resilience support is important, but we also need to take care that the economy can grow, that competitiveness is strengthened, and that we don't lose the objective of increased internationalization and integration into the European single market, leave that behind. And that was also the background why, within the framework of the EU for Business program, we started this really key initiative for us together with Civita. And we are very proud of the results. So when we look at the results on the next slide, probably here to show where in the broad scope of our program, where this particular project is located. So this is with the clear focus of strengthening export capabilities of companies. So within this broad scope, we are here, and we think we achieved a great result with this project, and I'm also happy to learn more about that during today's session. If you can click forward 2 times, please. Yes, see that here. This is just on some of the overall results, because we are actually, last week, we also had our final event from the overall program. Where we also looked back at what we achieved, where we also realized how much we achieved with this program, but also in other areas. So quite over these last 5 years immense impact with 30,000 SMEs we reached, with cities we supported, but also clusters and business associations, yeah, a lot of internationalization we supported there. But when we look at today's title, it's called Plan for Action. For us, last week, there was also the same thing. This is not only about wrapping up and say, okay, what have we achieved together and what are the results up to now, but also we are looking ahead. And that is the same for this project as we as an overall program, and that we see on the next slide. So together with this final event last week, we also introduced a new program. We are now launching Without Gap, where we step into the, it's called actually Step into EU as a new program name. And with that, we are stepping into the footsteps of our previous program. So we are still working on this combination of increased EU accession, EU integration, and using that as an economic stimulus and as an engine for growth of the Ukrainian economy. So we keep on doing that. We are now working, we keep working on reform support. So also the adoption of the EU acquis in the economic area plays an important role, but also other national strategies like the SME strategy, export strategy, intellectual property strategy, things like that we are supporting in the future. Not only their development, but also their implementation. This is a very crucial part of that. So we don't want to stop at the, also in the EU accession process on ticking the box with legal requirements, but also make sure that it really has an impact on the business environment here and makes life easier for businesses in Ukraine. And we also keep on working in this regional dimension, so regional support for the economy, and as a new element also financial services. And when we look at that, at our future setup in this new program for a 3-year period, we clearly see the contributions of this particular project for that. Because whereas in the past we were working with business associations, strengthening their capacities, with clusters, we're promoting the participation in fairs and exhibitions, but not so much with a sectoral focus. So we did that rather independently. And in the future, we would want to do that with a clear sectoral focus, a focus on those economic sectors in Ukraine which have the highest growth potential. And for that, the results of this particular project are really guiding the way. But and within these sectors, when we look at that, we I think also a strong benefit from this project is that we identified the most capable associations and representatives of those sectors in the country who can really drive this change and make those sectors really as develop them as drivers of the economy. And this project also helped us in identifying the regions in Ukraine which are most relevant for those sectors and where we should also see how we can support local business environment, the whole ecosystem on regional level to really promote the sectoral development. Yeah, that was a bit the framework in which this project was located, and also with the clear message. We are proud of that, of what you achieved. And we are also proud that this was not like today only looking back, but also a transition into the new phase where we are ready to support this work for the next 3 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hagen. Thank you. Yeah, a round of applause. GIZ context, in case somebody doesn't know. please. And then I think I have a clicker. Let me try to use it. А працює клікер? Точно? Yeah, because you saw Hagen, I am not Hagen. Okay, that's me. Yeah, I am Ivana. I am the associate partner at Civita, the consortium lead of this project, and also part of the team, part of the big team. And it's a great pleasure for me today to be here, maybe on behalf of the whole consortium, the whole team, and to give a small grasp and feeling about the project that we did. As Hagen mentioned, he said that maybe initially, like the scope of the project ended up being bigger than we thought in the beginning. I think it's the case, it is true, and it is true in a good way, because it could have been just a project for specific, those of you who work in requirements, and it could have been a project where we went just like one by these, and we did. But apart from that, I think we all had this goal and desire to really think broadly and to think how the Better Market Connectivity project could really have an impact on wider economic growth and European economic integration for Ukraine. Here, what I wanted to mention is that, as I said, we started the project in May 2024 with the ambitious goal to deliver it till the end of April. So we still have a few things to go, but basically we are, as the final event today, we are wrapping up the program. So quite a lot of things. I will share with you now what we did, what we were working on during this year. And it did sound really ambitious a year ago, that we have to really, what we have to achieve and what we have to manage to do within this year. So you see our partners on the slide, EU for Business, the European Union, the government of Germany, GIZ, those people, partners, organizations, thanks to whom it happened. So thank you very much. And also you see on the slide the logos of 5 organizations. So I think here we had a really interesting setup. We had Civita representing Estonia, so a company based roots, which has the roots from Estonia. We have an office in Ukraine, but basically we are rooted from Estonia. Then we have Easy Business, which is an NGO, and we'll have Dmitro, the head of it, presenting the research later on, based in Ukraine. Then we have Market Access, which is a Portuguese company, Giraffe Consulting, that is a UK company, and the Lithuanian Innovation Center, which is from Lithuania. So 5 companies in the consortium implementing the project from 5 countries. And I think this allowed us to really have this unique experience share between the partners and trying to bring the best that we could, and the experience and the knowledge of some of the countries that joined the EU more recently, some of the countries that exited the EU, but have this experience of really trading and building the economic competitiveness. And if we look at the project structure, we had 4 key pillars, 4 key components. The first one was the research, trying to identify the most promising sectors, subsectors, and product categories for SMEs specifically, and the potential for these sectors to really grow and internationalize. And we will hear more insight from Dmitro delivering about the research and how it can be used. And Hagen also shared a little bit of how, what is the future of this research. Then in the second pillar, we looked at the leading clusters and industry associations in those sectors. So for us, it was really important to find these players, and I'm looking at some of the alumni here, to find those players who are driving, like the market and driving those sectors in Ukraine, and really uniting the players and helping them internationalize. So we had a tough task. In fact, we mapped around 100 industry associations and clusters. In some of the industries more, in some of the industries less. For example, it was a challenge to find somebody in electrical equipment, so maybe a lot of potential there. But we wanted to find those who really have this already some knowledge, but want to grow better. So for us, it was important to find this balance, and I think we succeeded in that. And then we worked during the third part of the project. We had quite a long, still sometimes in some places it's still lasting 6 months or even more, capacity building program for these industry associations, for these clusters, helping them to learn how to support their members, the companies to internationalize and to go into the EU. And the idea of this project, and I think it was a very bold idea developed by GIZ to really, like this maybe train the trainer approach or something like that, where the industry associations and clusters, they learn, they gain these skills on like expert support, and then they can act as multipliers and really like boost the sector, boost the SMEs. So it's yet to see how it will work out, and like in the future, how will this help work? But from our perspective, this is a really interesting way how to build and shape the intervention to really reach long-lasting impact. So, and we truly believe that this is the case. And I think when we will have Eddie and Bogdan from the associations sharing how they do it in real life, we will really learn of like how the industry associations and clusters can be the drivers for this. And the fourth part was where we worked with the SMEs that are members of these clusters and associations and help them do the matchmaking with the European businesses and SMEs. So it's something that usually Ukrainian SMEs struggle with, really doing business and internationalizing. And we also have the export promotion office here. So we all know that there are these challenges, but this project aimed to deliver this direct support. And we also visited the trade events. We went to Poland, to Germany, to Sweden, to Finland, to France, to really present our companies, to help them show what they have, show their goods, and sell. So our ultimate goal was, like, we have basically two ultimate goals of the project. One is to train and support the industry associations and clusters to build this capacity of expert support. And the second goal is to help directly the SMEs sell, build matchmaking, like matchmake, and build their connections and sales. And in this second goal, like working with the SMEs, like now we are still collecting the insights from the trips and from the matchmaking, but it's around 300 follow-ups with all of these companies. So it's around like 53 SMEs in the sectors that we selected, and around 300 follow-ups that are constantly being carried out in order to reach these expert sales. So it's a lot of work. I remember when we started the project, we were participating in different like conferences and events about export, and people were asking, oh, it looks like an ambitious project, but when would you end up with this real like matchmaking? And I think it is challenging. I think we all have to be honest about the fact that it is challenging for both for Ukrainian SMEs to do the matchmaking, but also for consultants to support them in that. But nonetheless, we are, I think, in a good shape in terms of this support. And I truly believe that because of the scale of the project, because of the different sectors and the different SMEs, we have quite a big pipeline and quite a big scope to really make meaningful change in the whole industry. So that's something that we are all proud about, I think, as the whole team. So all in all, we are finalizing, we are reaching really good results, and that we are proud to show. If you will have any specific questions on how the matchmaking looked like, or what was the direct support, I think it's something that people are usually interested in. Maybe then during the networking, you can ask me or the team about more insights and details, and we can gladly share them. That's maybe the general idea that we wanted to share with you today about how the project looked like and the insights that we had. And thank you very much for your attention on presenting the project results. And I am here, like playing the role of the moderator and also the speaker, but now I'm finishing the role of the speaker until I moderate the panel. And without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Dmytro Livch, who represents the Easy Business NGO, the NGO that was, he's a partner at Civita Ukraine and also the CEO at Easy Business. And Dmytro was the lead expert, I would say, from the Ukrainian side on working on the research for identifying the sectors, subsectors, and product categories. Dmytro will tell about how the research looked like, what we took from it. But yeah, the person behind it, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Today I have a very great pleasure to actually present the results of our long journey. And as Ivanka mentioned, this was the initial step that we started with. And today I have a very interesting and challenging task to present the results of the study in 20 minutes, which is quite intense. So today we'll have a very interesting panel discussion on economic integration of Ukraine's businesses into European Union markets. But before entering European Union single market, we need to understand what are the most promising sectors that are capable to deliver on European Union markets. Previously, there were a lot of studies that were actually covering topics of Ukraine's competitiveness, some sectoral competitiveness, cluster analysis. But with this particular studies, we had a focus on small and medium enterprises. We had a focus on prospects for internationalization, and we have a focus on EU markets. And within this study, we actually were focusing on quantitative and qualitative assessment of sectors, subsectors, and product groups. We are working with identifying of the most promising out of them, and I will tell a bit more about it today. We are focusing on value chain analysis because it is very important to understand what would be the role of Ukraine's SMEs in the value chains that are connecting Ukraine's exports with EU markets. And we were also trying to understand where actually we can find a place for better connection of UA capabilities and EU demands. This is very important element to mention. But this was the study, the phase 1 for the project of better market connectivity that we are very grateful for EU for Business React project and the funding from the federal government of Germany and also European Union, because this is something that actually helps us to identify those spots for Ukraine's exports on the foreign markets. But at the same time, before speaking about the overall results of the study, I would really like to draw your attention to some limitations or considerations that were actually identified at the very first stages. So we were looking at those industries and those sectors that has a strong focus of small and medium enterprises. So we were not looking at those sectors that had higher concentration of larger enterprises. There were some sectors that are non-qualifying, like alcohol, tobacco, or dual use, because we were not able to support them in export to European Union markets. There were also some priority focus areas with a strong emphasis on export, income, and job creation, because now we need to aim for those initiatives that are helping to recover Ukraine's economy and then build some fundamentals for future growth. We're also focusing on those industries that had very active business associations that could actually be those factors of potential leverage for Ukraine's SMEs while they are entering European Union markets. We're also looking at those industries that had very high position on the value chain, so they are bringing more value added to the economy. And also there were some other considerations like energy factors or procedures for compliance or something like that. So those were 6 major elements that we were actually looking at while selecting those sectors. We had a very complicated methodology. Here it might look like very complicated methodology, but this is just a part of this methodology that we are showing today. We also had some preliminary analysis of the Ukraine's economy. We also were trying to identify those value chains, but now I'm presenting just 3 parts of this methodology. So the first one is identification of sectors, subsectors, and products. The second one is value chain analysis. And the third one is EU market identification. Because for this particular study, the major goal was to identify potential partners in Europe. Let's start with the first one. So here is the major results of the first phase. You see the funnel where we started with 29 product sectors and 18 service sectors. And then we ended up with a very strange number of 4+2. And I will explain a bit more why it's 4+2. Because there are some industries like textile or wood that also have some sister industries like furniture and apparel. That is why we have 4+2. And we also have one sector that was selected in terms of service experts. How we were actually working on that? So basically, in order to select those potential sectors, we had 4 major stages of the methodology. So the first one is preparatory steps. So we were trying to identify if any of those sectors of Ukraine's economy are actually fitting the methodology that I was talking before, like strong focus of SMEs or strong role of exports or high position in value add. The second one was quantitative analysis. So we actually had a group of 25 indicators that were actually reflecting on income generation, export, and also jobs, qualitative analysis, and EU demand analysis. Few more graphs that are actually describing the overall state of play. So we had a huge mapping of 29 product sectors across value chain creation, also UA world export value, and also share of large companies and SMEs in the sectors. So we have this map. The next step is preparatory phase, filter 0. So we did a matching between UA HS codes and also NACE codes, and try to match them, Ukrainian statistics and also EU statistics, and try to understand what kind of sectors are having the biggest potential. So within the first stage, we eliminated 10 sectors. So we ended up with 19. Then out of those 19 sectors, we were applying to them quantitative assessment of 25 indicators. Then we ended up with 10. For 10 of them, we did a huge qualitative assessment of business enabling environment, of supply chains, of understanding how they are actually has a potential to enter the European Union markets. And we ended up with 10 sectors, for which of them we were trying to have a step further. Our step further is trying to match this UA capabilities and the EU demands, which is very important because it's not enough to actually analyze the untapped potential of Ukraine's exports. It's also very important to understand the consumption trends on the European Union markets and understand those potential gaps in the European Union that we as Ukrainian companies and as Ukrainian economy can actually fulfill at most. And this was very helpful in terms of understanding what are the top 10 and then potentially top 5 sectors that we are planning to focus on. This is the list of indicators that we were actually looking at with average total score for each of them. Those are 10 sectors, product sectors, and also 2 service sectors that are the most competitive in terms of Ukrainian economy. But we selected 5. As I mentioned before, we selected 5 of them, which are 4 sectors that are product sectors and 1 sector in terms of services, based on the indicators of income generation, growth potential, job creation, export, qualitative assessment of the value chain, and also EU demands. Those are the 5 sectors that we are going to talk about. So this is the food products, the market leader in Ukraine, fastest growing sector with huge potential for income generation and export generation, that was growing and that was exporting a lot to the European Union, that was quite stable in terms of energy shortages and so on, with a high potential for value add. Then we identified wood products and furniture, one of the sectors that has the highest revealed competitive advantage potential in the European Union markets. We are exporting a lot. We are exporting a lot globally, but EU remains to be one of the market leaders for Ukraine's wood and furniture. Then we have textiles and apparel that has a high dominance of SMEs in the sector, has strong associations, and has potential to be internationalized. Then we have electrical equipment, the sector that has probably the highest value-added creation potential, and that is why they were the ones who can easily integrate to European Union single market. And we also identified one obvious sector, which is information and communication technologies, the sector that everyone is talking about, the sector that has very high growth rates, despite the fact that there are quite many turbulences on the global markets. It still has a stable growing dynamics if we are talking about long-term tendencies, and that is why we identified this sector. As I mentioned, those selected sectors are SME focused. Those selected sectors has the highest potential to be integrated to the European Union markets. Those sectors, they have higher value added compared to other sectors that can be competitive, like agriculture or crop production or metallurgy or metals. And that is why they are the ones that we worked with further on. We haven't stopped on the selection of sectors. We were also looking at subsectors, and here is the list of the 11 most promising subsectors within those 5 that we selected previously. And we also identified 21 product categories with the highest potential of integration to European Union markets. And those are the ones that are mentioned here. But this is not all about this fantastic research and fantastic journey that we had the privilege to have with the team of GIZ and with our team of Civita and Easy Business and other consortium partners. We went further and tried to analyze the value chains across those 21 product and service groups. So we basically try to understand what are the raw materials, primary processing, secondary processing, and end usage for each and every product category that were listed in this file. Why did we do that? Because we try to understand what is the number of enterprises, what is the regional and geographical distribution of those selected product categories. How can we actually link them to upstream production? How can we link them to European Union economy? And we resulted in such beautiful maps. Maps of Ukraine where we have a concentration of large enterprises, medium enterprises, small enterprises. We have not sectoral distribution, but regional distribution. We have understanding of where those products can actually fit the potential demand on European Union markets if we are talking about their potential exports. But at the same time, for each and every product category, we were also able to understand what are the potential geographies for Ukraine's exports if we are talking about the European Union markets. So we analyzed EU27. We tried to understand the initial filtering, those top 15 markets that are the most prominent for Ukraine's exports, and for them to apply this quantitative and qualitative analysis that proved to be successful in the initial stages of the selection. So we did the same for geographies, and we did the same for EU markets, applying quantitative and qualitative filters to understand the EU demand. And we ended up with this kind of information, where we actually described, for example, for frozen fruits, what are the most prominent markets if we are talking about the European Union. And we ended up with the list of top 15 markets. For example, for this one, it's Poland, Germany, Czechia, Spain, and Netherlands. If we are taking into consideration three major factors, as I mentioned, EU demand, Ukraine's capability, and potential entry barriers that are supported by qualitative analysis and qualitative indicators. The major highlight of today's presentation, I will show you the metrics, which is very interesting. Here is the metrics, where we have all the EU markets, top 15, and we also have the product categories that we were able to identify during our research. And here we have numbers, 1, 2, 3. Those are the market leaders in terms of Ukraine's potential on those product categories. So here we see, again, Poland, Germany, Netherlands, France, Italy. Those are the countries that are most frequently appearing as potential countries for Ukraine's exports. And then, after this kind of research done, after this kind of matching done, there should be next steps. Next steps, how we can actually strengthen Ukraine's presence on the foreign markets. And as I mentioned before, at the very first slide, what we actually have done so far. So basically, we analyzed quantitative and qualitative indicators to be able to select those most promising Ukraine sectors, subsectors, and product categories. We were able to identify the most promising of them. We were able to perform the value-added chain analysis for each and every category that are mentioned there in order to actually match UA capabilities and EU demands and to select those most promising EU markets. But further on, as Hagen has mentioned in his introductory remarks, there is a need to actually get a better understanding of the regional assessment. Where are those sectors? Where are those potential clusters? There is a need to provide targeted support mechanism for clusters or for industry associations or kind of export alliances. There is a need to provide the policy support, as Hagen has mentioned in the very beginning, to be able to actually better access the EU single market. And there is a need to do the practical work, to do the business matchmaking, to identify those potential linkages between Ukraine's SMEs and EU counterparts in order to strengthen Ukraine's export. This was the last presentation of the last slide of my presentation. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time to deep dive into the results of the work. But today, I'm really happy to share the research highlights over the QR code. Some summary. This is not the full report. This is just summary to actually provide you with a better understanding of what kind of work has been done, what are the major results, and how we can move forward in the implementation further on. Thanks a lot for the attention.
Thank you, Dmitro. Thank you for the presentation. You can maybe, you don't need to move far. You can stay. You can stay because now we are starting the second or the third part of our today's event, and it's the panel discussion. And if we want to move a little bit, maybe now is the moment to move the chairs a little bit. I will play the role of entertaining everyone while this is happening. Yeah, nobody sees you, Alina. Yeah, and the panel discussion is maybe I just wanted to say a few words that consider it for given today's event and the topic, consider it maybe a bit broadly. So our idea is that after the panel discussion, after we have insights from the speakers, we will then have workshops, and we really encourage you to stay for those and to participate in those. So please build on the insights you will take away from the panel discussion in terms of the role of the industry associations, and then let's try to use them during the workshop. That was a small intro, and now I am just very glad and honored to invite the speakers. Dmitro, since you are here, Dmitro Livch, partner at Civita Ukraine, CEO of Easy Business NGO. Eddie, I see you on the first row. Eduard Fast, head of international and local business development at Kharkiv IT Cluster, and Kharkiv IT Cluster is the alumni of this project. Ralph Lovak, head of component GIZ React for Ukraine EU for Business program. Please, Ralph. Ms. Olga Batova, CEO of the investment company EFI Group. Please. And also Andriy Remizov, Director of the Export Entrepreneurship Promotion Office. Please, Andriy, welcome. And Bogdan Shapoval, CEO at YouFood. Please join us. That's what I told the team. I don't have a chair. Another alumni. Okay, my chair's here. Oh, I'm going to be so far from you. No, I don't like it. I want to be somewhere closer to you. I'm coming. I hope you don't mind. Now I don't see everyone, but I hope you can hear us. The topic of our panel is the role of industry associations and clusters in economic integration into the EU single market. And as we all mentioned, I think Hagen in the intro speech, myself and Dmitro when presenting the research, industry associations and clusters are one of the key beneficiaries of this project. So it's very important for us to really understand how they can foster economic growth, how they can drive this export promotion and export and integration to the European economic market. So that's a bit of the context. Today we're going to talk about their role, about their challenges, about their needs, and how the government, donors, and SMEs could support them more to make and do this key role. So I would like to start maybe with the first question. Andriy, you are the first suspect, let's say, in this question. So how would you maybe see the key strengths of industry associations and clusters if we talk about export opportunities? And maybe you can build on your experience leading the key export promotion government organization in Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So, good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear partners. It's good to be here with you. So, from my perspective, the main strength of the association is community and possibility to connect a lot of stakeholders, a lot of companies who can, for example, promote themselves on the international exhibitions. For example, our institution, EEPO, Entrepreneurship and Export Promotion Office, we are subordinated to the Secretariat of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine and responsible for SME development in general and for example, for organizing of national pavilions of Ukraine on some exhibitions in the world. And for us, it's very easy and useful to connect and to organize some pavilions together with associations or clusters or some unions of entrepreneurs, because they have the opportunity to find the best products, the best services, and the best companies for national a pavilion, and present in a better way the Ukrainian potential and Ukrainian products. And we see that it's a very efficient way to organize something when we connect with BCOs and associations. Yeah, and if you're talking about SME development in general, it's also easier to cooperate on some projects or some consulting services or some training programs. I think it's the best way for some great activities.
Thank you, Andriy. So, basically, you can cascade through them and work with them to then reach the SMEs. Ralph, maybe a question to you. So, something similar. How do you see the strength of industry associations and what role they can play if we talk about export promotion and opportunities?
Yeah, thank you. Interesting question. And well, my colleagues actually prepared a lot of information for you, but I will try to make it a little bit shorter. Also to go maybe a little bit beyond the scope of this program that we were talking about, because in the framework of EU for Business and React for EU, we have been supporting especially sector associations and clusters for the last 5 years in a very comprehensive program, and many organizations were involved. And I think especially the last 5 years, you may remember, some may remember that before this war we also had COVID-19. I mean, many forgot about this. So especially in these very challenging times for businesses, associations, clusters, any kinds of networks that bring together businesses, especially small, medium-sized businesses, are very valuable, because they provide a platform to help and also to create certain helping mechanisms for these businesses. And the same is true then also when you want to approach foreign markets, because for smaller companies it's very difficult to approach foreign markets. And together you can be much stronger, and you become much more visible. So if you want to go to a trade fair, what already was mentioned by Andriy, if you go as a small or medium company, it will be very expensive to go to a trade fair. But if you go together with your peers, maybe even with your competitors, but if it is organized, it will be on one hand cheaper. You will be much more visible also to the audience. And therefore you can actually unite your strengths when approaching foreign markets. And I think that's also something that we supported throughout the whole 5 years of our program. On one hand, let's say, increasing the capacity of all these institutions, organizations, sector associations, clusters, but on the other hand also to provide them with the opportunity then to do this, to go out to the markets.
Thank you, Ralph. I had another order of how to ask people, but after you said this, you mentioned something interesting, that working with clusters in this context is, of course, for the strength, because it's a network and the combined efforts. But there is also this interesting part about competition inside by the members. So maybe now I would really like to move a little bit and talk with Bogdan and with Eduard from your perspective. So Bogdan, you are closer to me. If you talk about the EU-Food, so you can please reflect on the strengths of clusters, like for EU integration, economic integration, but also how does this competition internally look like and how to overcome it?
Okay, Ivan, it was not so easy question. I will try to answer. Firstly, I want to say a few thankful words for your program, for GIZ programs at all, because for us it was very important to participate in these programs. We are a very young association. We started 5 years ago. So in May we will have something like 5 years of our activity. And it was too hard to have this activity during COVID times, during full-scale invasion times. But with support of GIZ programs, with support of Civita, of EU for Business and Ready for EU programs, we start to be more strong, firstly. If, say, concretely, we start to be more stronger in B2B. Also, Civita programs help us to teach our personnel, to train our personnel. It was really great trainings with Dina Sidash, with Barbara. Thanks for that. Also, Yellow for Business program helps us to do a lot of work in cluster creation. So this is answer. We are not support clusters, we create clusters. Now we create 7 clusters in different types of branches, of food branches. This is in dairy, they are, sorry, in dairy, they are in meat, in pork, in other types of meat, also plant-based meat and others. But our main strong things that we received from your program, and thank you for this, that we learn how to create clusters. And answer is next. We don't waste time for competitiveness. We try to find a niches where our members of our association could provide a new products, could provide something new for export, something new for domestic market, and in such way we solve this issue.
Okay, thank you, Bogdan. Very diplomatic answer. Or maybe there is no competition in the food industry. What about IT, Eduard? Could you share how you work? And yeah, you have a unique situation. Kharkiv IT cluster is from Kharkiv, which we know is a very brave city. And so, could you share how you work, how you see your strengths for economic integration to the EU, and a little bit about competition, if you have any?
Yes, at first, thank you for welcoming us and for being here and participating. Thank you for this program, of course, that we could participate there too. For us, it's, how to explain it, we are participating in a lot of projects. And this project was specially because we had this special ground visiting trip to Finland, to Sweden, where we could take with us SMEs. And this was, I would say, one of the most important thing, because for SMEs, it's not so easy like medium or large company to go abroad, to go to see other markets, how it's working there. So in this part, it was for us, theory is always good, but the practice is the best. And for this SMEs, it was great to see how we can enter new markets, how other markets are working, and so on. And when we are going to competitiveness, the competition between every IT sector or between every company, in the IT market, you can be alive more than 3 months if you don't have a concrete USP. And this is the key. You have to train, to tell to the companies, to the SMEs, to learn them what is your USP. Look on this, be not like everyone. You don't have to be the nice guy for everyone. You have to find your niche. And yeah, that's what we are talking to our members and helping them to go abroad, to go to other markets. When we are talking right now about the European Union, of course, a lot of IT is already abroad from Ukraine, but not SMEs, yes. And we are doing the bridge builder between the government, between the SMEs, and between the universities, because only when you have a high quality product, only then you can sell it abroad, because when you're not good in what you're doing, you can't sell it. So this is why we are looking on universities, that we have their high quality standards, that we have their high quality knowledge. And only with this, we can build here in Ukraine high quality products. And of course, we have to bind the government too, that the government is on our side, doing the right laws, helping the IT companies, not, how to say it, smooth. We need, of course, employees. Without employees, you can't do work. And so we have to find this balance to have, to fight, to stand against, but to have that our economic here is not dying too.
Thank you, Eduard. That's inspiring. Wow. So it was so smooth and so sweet. Everyone was saying how good clusters and industry associations are, how important they are. And honestly, I share this thought. But maybe I don't know, Olga, you have another view on that. Um, do you think they do have these strengths that people here are talking about? And how do you see that? What is your take on that?
Well, I think that that usually depends on the sphere of the company, because of course when you are a very new enterprise, a very young entrepreneur, of course it's almost impossible to start from yourself without communicating, without networking, without helping from other businesses who has some experience, some contacts, and so on. So from this point of view, of course, I think that for small enterprises, usually associations can be this first step where they can have and learn some knowledge, how to act in different situations, what steps work, what steps don't work, because someone has tried it before. From the side of the medium enterprises, I think the role of associations and clusters usually can help, and I can say it from myself, in the sphere of resolving problems that, for example, the branch of business has come to. For example, from our latest example, we have the factory that produces honey. That's the Beehive brand, and I don't know if everyone knows it, but Ukraine is in top 3, top 5 biggest export countries in honey. In 2020, I think we were on the 2nd place in the world for export honey, and nowadays it's a pity, but we are on the 5th place, like a country. Of course, that's because of the large-scale invasion. But in any case, Ukrainian honey, like Ukrainian agriculture product, it's the markable thing for the whole country. So we have about 150 million euros export value for the country. And sometimes it happens in our country that during this process of the euro integration, we are trying to implement some laws and regulations that we think European Union demanding from us. But if you will ask, for example, the honey business in Ukraine, they will say that not European Union doesn't really demand something that our Verkhovna Rada and the government changes. And for example, for 3 months, the whole branch of honey was just stopped in our country, and all factories stopped to work because we were blocked by the tax authorities, just because the changes in legislation in December that didn't really were needed for European Union. So this is the story when associations and clusters really can help not to make the government and, for example, the parliament these mistakes, because usually deputies and even the ministries, they are not so inside the business. They really don't have to be so much deep how this business works, and associations can really help just to have this hand on pulse during this European integration in this legislation changes, because sometimes in our country we're speaking about not how to help, but how not to harm harm our business that is really working well. So well, I think that's something that is important in this case.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this broader context to it about the challenges too. We will not dive into the challenges now, maybe in the second round of more like specific questions, but thank you for bringing that up. So Dmitro, it was sweet, then it got a bit less sweet, but I am wondering maybe if you can share a little bit about the strengths, how you see the roles of clusters and associations, but also like what do they need to really build on those strengths and develop, like, I don't know, funding, government support, like could they really grow further and become even a more meaningful player if we talk about internationalization?
Thanks a lot for the question. I would say that it might be a bit broader than clusters, because clusters, it's quite specific. It usually reflects some kind of either geographical or product basis, or some kind of grouping around some common features. I would here say more about some kind of aggregation models, because usually we are talking about small and medium enterprises. And in order to be competitive on the market, sometimes you are competing, sometimes you are cooperating, sometimes you are collaborating, sometimes you are trying to have alliance, and you have many different options. And it's not only about advocacy. Advocacy, this is something that that comes to my mind when I'm talking about some clusters or associations, because now we are stepping into negotiations with the European Union. Not negotiations, but the EU accession process. Let's name it as it's going to be, because this is accession process, but not negotiation process. But there is a place for public-private dialogue. There is a place for actually formulating the consolidated position of the industry, of the sector. And here, when we are talking about the accession talks, we need to be aware of the consequences of tariff, non-tariff barriers that will be in place. We need to be aware of the competition internally on single market of European Union. We need to be aware of some different sorts of support instruments, like pre-accession instruments like IPA or Ukraine facility, or some support programs, maybe later on some structural funds of the European Union that are aimed not only on the business development but also on the regional development. That is the key, because we can talk a lot on the national level, on the international level, but everything is actually happening and being implemented on the very local level with the hands of communities or SMEs that are working and that are trying to enter foreign markets and that are trying to sell their products. So the first thing I want to mention is advocacy. In a way of public-private dialogue and participation and engagement of industries in accession talks. Let's frame it this way. Currently, we have autonomous trade preferences with the European Union. We have very good market position, but again, while entering the European Union, this might be changed a bit. The second item that I would really like to draw your attention to is those aggregation models, and they might differ from sector to sector. In some sectors, it can be like association support. In some sector, it can be export alliance, where you can actually join your efforts in order to get a better perception of the foreign market towards your product or service, because you need to have a mass, you need to have a possibility, you need to have a capacity to actually enter some retail chains, or to enter some markets, or to enter larger procurements that are coming from the state or from EU budgets, for example. And that is why you need to have this kind of joint capability and joint reputation. In some sectors, it might be a bit different. For example, in agriculture sector, like fruits, berries, it might be cooperatives where you have a lot of different farmers that are producing fruits and berries, for example, and they are actually looking for some joint investments into storage or freezing capacities or transport logistics or better access to the market, and you need to consolidate the efforts. In some sectors, you can have some kind of contract type of manufacturing or farming or processing. You need to have an anchor firm, for example, like the one that is FE Group is having, and you need to have a smaller ecosystem of other players that are actually engaging into this model, and they are getting stronger together because you have sustainable supply chain that is built in Ukraine, and you have a reputable medium or mid-cap enterprise that is capable to enter the foreign market, and you have this kind of effect that is helping Ukrainian companies to better access the market. But in a nutshell, we are talking about 4 dimensions. So the first one is policy, which is public-private dialogue and accession talks. The second one is access to finance. So you need to be bankable or you need to be investable. This is the key. And not all of the enterprises having enough credibility to be able to get this cheaper loans or investment. And you need to collaborate. The third one is access to markets. And here you have this kind of different sorts of export alliances or some kind of joint branding of Ukrainian products and so on. And the fourth one is access to know-how, and you can actually have some kind of experience sharing sessions between different enterprises, or you can get some other know-how, or you can get some innovative technologies. And Ukraine is actually very capable here. And for example, there might be very interesting ideas, for example, in agriculture sector, where those large agrarian companies that are super profitable, that are super productive, that actually implemented a lot of agriculture-led innovations, they can share this experience with smaller ones, and this can be done in Ukraine. And the same story with other sectors, because this is actually the place where everything is happening right now, and where you can actually look for this potential synergies between larger enterprises and the smaller ones, where you can look for potential synergies in entering European Union's market, where you can look for potential synergies in terms of getting more competitive, because this is the essence of the overall recovery and development process. And the fifth pillar that I forgot to mention, that is the most important one, is the local pillar, because everything is happening on the local level. And you need to look for these potential partnerships in the community level or regional level, and you need to do this kind of economic profiling of regions in order to better understand where you can actually find those clusters, where you can actually find those sectors, and why do they need to be competitive on the European Union market, and what kind of policy tools, what kind of investment, what kind of support you need to actually apply in order to make them even more competitive.
Dmitro, I have a feeling maybe you made our representatives of clusters and associations a bit nervous. You know how many things they have to do. So that's a lot of pressure. I'm joking, of course. Thank you for that overview. But that's a lot to take on. And you mentioned the policy component and the government component. So maybe I would like to reflect to Andrei a little bit about if we look about how the government could support clusters and associations in their aspirations for European economic integration. So you mentioned the context of like you supporting them in the trade visits and the exhibitions. That's like very practical things that you are doing, and that's super important. But maybe there is a bit more that you think you could do or are already doing.
Yes, so from my perspective, the one of the main instruments for associations, if we are talking about export promotion, it's analytical studies about current situation in sector, and about perspective and promising like foreign markets for export products. And we do this activity, I think, every week, and communicate with some associations about analytical studies and support them in this direction. And for example, we analyze some information about current situation in IT sector in Great Britain or the UK, or Saudi Arabia or other countries. And this is the one of the instruments for associations and other types of business support organizations from government side. The second instrument is a consulting. It can be in like a different types of like areas or activities. For example, it can be support from the EPO, or other organizations about GPA or international tenders, because it's a very difficult and very interesting direction for Ukrainian SMEs because, for example, EU tenders, it's about the large orders for some products or services, yeah, and one company just can't propose something, yeah, for potential partner from Germany or other country, yeah, but Ukrainian companies can participate in these types of activities, yeah, and for example, participating like in consortium or in other types, it's more easier, yeah, for companies, and it's the second instrument. And the next instrument is access to information, because it's very important to for associations here to attract new members or new companies or find some partners abroad. Yeah, and for example, on the DA business platform, we support them in popularization, yeah, about activities, about success stories, about possible projects or some opportunities, and from the government it's a like a good opportunity to popularize some efficient associations here or organizations, and show the Ukrainian companies or business who don't participate in associations what is what is the benefits from this, or what is the possible opportunity, and from this activity we can just support associations to find new companies. Yeah, it's a I think the next topic. Yeah, and for example, we can also talk about some grants. It's very important to support associations and other organizations to attract some money for exhibitions, for example, yeah, for trade missions, for just for updating some websites or developing some digital infrastructure, yeah, and we see the potential in this area, yeah, and I think that your project, yeah, your support, I think the most and the one of the important part, it's institutional capacity, yeah, and you support the participation in the exhibitions, and it's very important, yeah, and I think the government has to do something similar, yeah, but unfortunately we don't have state budget for this, and I hope that when we finish the export strategy together with GIZ and partners, yeah, we will not we, but Ministry of Finance, I hope that find some financial resources for supporting these directions. Thank you.
Thank you, Andriy. Well, you are quite modest, I would say. Yeah, maybe there are. I know that the funds are lacking, but I think nonetheless, you guys at Apple are doing a great job, like attracting funding additionally and supporting the way you can. So I think that's extremely valuable, and thank you for the work that you are doing. Ralph, so there are Andriy has quite a menu of potential support that the government can give. For something there is funding, for something there is not funding, something is in place, something is not in place. But maybe could you build a little bit on the extensive experience of GIZ in supporting industry associations and clusters in various ways, and how maybe these synergies between what the clusters and associations need, what the government thinks should be done, and what you have been providing could, where could be the bridges for this? Maybe some lessons learned too, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And actually, we had a meeting with Andrew in the morning, and he already presented us his long list of wishes. With
so you know the wishes, yeah.
Yeah. So we are already thinking about this. But coming back to your question and also to the past, I mean, as already mentioned, I mean, under this project, which had these strange two names, React for UA and EU for Business, over 5 years, we have been supporting, I think, roughly 90 sector associations clusters which were actively participating in our activities. And obviously we met many more that then actually for various reasons they didn't participate in calls or they didn't win calls. So we got a good impression, and also this was kind of a countrywide, I think it was associations from about 18 regions, so that's more or less all of Ukraine. And what did we do? I mean, as already mentioned, I mean, two major directions. One direction is really to support the capacity to actually also to analyze. We did a 360-degree analysis of 30 clusters, and to actually understand, okay, what is there, and then also to understand what needs to be developed. But what is also important is to understand you can't really create change. You can't change an institution just with one activity. So therefore, it's important to be there with a toolbox of instruments that you can provide. Apart from analyzing, apart from supporting with developing strategies for 10 clusters, we supported them to develop their cluster development strategy, but then also to provide, and this was the other part of our support initiatives, to provide them with funding opportunities to actually implement certain activities. We had, I think, 35 clusters that actually participated in calls where they could actually bid and say, okay, we have this specific direction where we want to implement a project. We need funding for this project. Could be some internal project for the development of the association of the cluster, but also there were clusters that said, okay, we want to do certain outgoing internationalization activities. I remember the Lviv fashion cluster. They went to Poland to do kind of a big fashion show for their members there. This was, I think, even in 22 or 23, so actually right after the invasion. So I think the important thing is to also have in mind that if you want to develop these organizations, it takes time. It takes certain efforts, and it takes a certain set of efforts. Very important was also to make, and we conducted a lot of activities where then Ukrainian clusters could actually meet with their peers abroad, and that's a little bit also what you are doing in your project, not with clusters, more with associations, to actually learn from them as a cluster. And then, but also to use this to match the businesses, yeah, and that's also very important when we talk about then internationalization, but also EU integration, because at one point you need to start this integration, and even if Ukraine is not yet a member, but anyway you can already start the integration. We have the autonomous trade measures were mentioned, but we also have the association agreement. There is already a lot of integration in the economic sphere going on, and I think that's all things that can be used. I think you said there will be a separate question regarding the challenges, so we will come back to this, because we also saw a certain challenges.
I think now is the moment, right?
Now is the moment?
Now is the moment.
Then let's do this. Again, a lot has already been said, but again, we have been working with many clusters and with many sector associations, and obviously they're very different. I mean, we have here one of the largest and very active cluster with, I think you have staff of the cluster staff, some 20 people. Yeah, close to 30. But we also know sector associations or clusters that, well, have maybe one staff, yeah, or it's some part-time person doing this. So therefore, the landscape is very different. And also, when you said, okay, this all sounds very rosy, well, obviously, we have a lot of clusters and sector associations which are still either very young or very, very small. And obviously, there is a lot of things to be done, because to be effective, efficient, and also to be a good provider of services to your members, you need a little bit of capacity. And there a lot of potential is there. And the other thing, and Dmytro mentioned when he presented the research, I mean, one of the criteria was actually to see, okay, is there actually in this sector, are there sector associations? There are still, and I would say there are still important industrial sectors in Ukraine where you do not have really a visible sector association. But then we have, just the national export strategy development was mentioned. This is also a dialogue process. If you're a company in a specific sector that not has a industry association, then actually in the public-private dialogue about priorities in the national export strategy, your industry, your company is not presented there, right? And that's not only, and you mentioned, yeah, the new role or the important role of sector associations in the EU integration process, but this is, I'm talking only about the public-private dialogue within Ukraine. This is towards the dialogue between sectors and the Ukrainian government. So this is also something where I think, and again, you said the associations in the room mentioned so many tasks, but for sector associations, this is a very important role. And it is a role that takes capacity, that takes training. You need analytics. If you want to do advocacy, if you want to be a participant in public-private dialogue that is heard at the level of the government, you must bring your arguments in a well-prepared, analyzed form. You need to come with proposals, and this is very important. And I mean, what we see in Ukraine as today, you have certain sectors which are well presented, and they will be heard, and you have other sectors that are less presented, and then you don't see them in strategies, you don't see them in the policy documents. That's also a very important role that I think for the next years, and it's also a little bit of a task then for our new project, to really capacitate those sector associations which kind of are not yet so present there, to capacitate them and to also improve their analytical skills and to capacitate them actually to become active members in this dialogue, which is even more important in the upcoming EU integration processes.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So I think this is something that I think it's something about the responsibility of the industries too, to unite and like combine their efforts and think less about competition and more about collaboration. And but I think we have two really good examples here on the panel from our alumni. These are the cases that where we really see this collaboration in the clusters and associations. So Edward, maybe to you. Since we touched a little bit on the topic on challenges and needs, so maybe you could reflect on that. If we talk about the challenges and needs of Kharkiv IT cluster, if it comes to supporting your members in economic integration into the EU specifically.
Yes, at first I just wanted to say that we are not afraid about all the topics that he said,
Okay,
because
good.
the most things we are doing already, we are doing a lot of work. Like I already said, we have a big team and working in really a lot of different directions. So we are the first Eastern Innovation Digital Hub, and we are the coordinator of it. We are ready for Ukraine coordinator. European Enterprise Network contact point. So we are doing already a lot of work. We are already helping our members, the IT sector, to go abroad, to go into other markets, to help them to enter new markets. But when we are going to challenging points, so we have to look on mismatching expectations. For example, the European culture is a little bit different than the culture here in Ukraine, because here in Ukraine we are we have fast innovation, we have quick adaptations, but this is not always doable in other markets. For example, I'm native German too, and grew up in the German culture. So but living since 2019 here in Kharkiv, so I know already, I adapted already to this. But I can understand the German culture, for example, yes, they are used for stability. What I have done 20 years all my life, that I want to do further. But the new generation want already innovation, but we have a lot of regulations that don't allow it. And there we have to find a balance in other markets too. I think European Union this is work for them to adapt to go further. But Ukraine, market has to be aware of this too. You can't go directly in a new market. You can't go directly to Poland, to Germany, to another market and say, I have this innovation. This is much better than you have done it all year the previous time. Do it like this. It don't works. So we are working on this path and helping them to understand other culture, how to enter this market, on what you have to look, and so on.
Thank you, Eduard. This is true, and I think we saw a lot of it during the ground visits too, like how to better approach them to be successful. Bogdan, could you please reflect on your experience and how the association works in terms of the challenges and the needs that you have? And I think you have quite a good even audience on the panel, so maybe you can you can share some of those insights.
Okay, so maybe food industry is more widely than IT, but we have the same challenges. And when Metro said about cooperation and about cooperatives, I forgot the song story 10 years ago when we tried to do a first very cooperative, and it was nothing because we don't understand how it works. We don't understand how to manage all these issues that we have 10 years ago. And why we start to work with all program and components of programs of JZ and TO for Business and Civita, because we understand that this cluster model is more understandable for Ukraine, is more understandable for enterprises, for our members. Firstly, they are focused and based on a product that they export, and they earn real life money every day at this product. And we can create clusters on this idea that we need to build a new added value chains. We need to build a new types of products for export. And this type of economic cooperation is more understandable in food industry, and this is first insight. Because when we started to launch some cooperatives and something act, all times it was about nothing. We don't have any result. But when we start to launch clusters, we have 7 clusters for 1.5 years from the starting of projects in the end of the 2023 year. So what is this is the first insight. The second insight is that how to manage all this process. Our members is not easy guys. They all know how to live their lives and they know how to do their business, and they did this business several or 10 years ago. So we start to do small groups of our members, start to do some seminars. JZ teams also help in this. Some to do some coffee breaks with experts, with another branch area experts. And after that, we received real results. They start to find how to do business together. For example, it was very hard to launch a protein cluster in Ukraine, dairy protein, I mean. But when we start to work with our members, they understood that somebody of them provide caseins, somebody proceeds these caseins for another type of products. And after a year of cooperation, these 4 companies are good example of business that launched and that start in very short time. This is second insight. Don't do something very large. Try to go by small steps with with not a big quantity of companies in any way. And that's all.
Thank you, Bogdan. That was quite insightful. I even want to Google the case later on the Proteid one. Olga, so we talked more from this like cluster perspective and the association perspective, but you work with many companies and you see it from the side of businesses. So maybe what are the key challenges you observe with businesses trying to export and enter EU markets, and how can clusters and industry associations help them?
We really have a lot of spheres and a lot of and businesses that are very export oriented. That's Protein also. So in 2020, I think we launched the first plant that is producing protein and fat from a meat and some products that are left after the meat. And now we are building the second one during the war, the second factory. That's the Fidnova brand. We have a few assets in the packaging, in the paper packaging. That's about ecology also. We have Beehive. So all these and businesses, they are 90+% for European and United States, sometimes Africa, and so on. So we are not selling it really in Ukraine. Of course, the hardest are the first steps when you're launching, when you're trying to get the contract, when of course we are everybody are challenging about Ukraine, because during the war it is very hard to talk with the customers that we will for sure export this amount of product. You don't be worry. We will manage to fulfill the contract, and that's also something that we have to work together. And because from one point of view, we are talking that here is the war. We have challenges. We need help. We need money and weapon. From the other side, we are telling that please invest in our country, have contracts with us, and so on. So this is sometimes two very different goals. And the mass media looks a little bit hard for business yet to be effective in export. The second thing I wanted really to tell that we are talking about obligations of clusters and associations, and sometimes we forget about the responsibility of the business, because we are the source of tasks. We are the source of talking with associations, with government, and so on, where we need help. So sometimes business just sit and wait when someone will come and help. But in any case, here we have to be very proactive. We have to ask associations to do very clear steps that we need. So it's really a pity, because sometimes I really talk with some CEOs of different businesses, and they tell that we don't know how they can help us. We don't need them, and we will do everything by myself. And this is the problem that we have really in the mentality still. And the second thing is that we are sometimes afraid about the competition, and we don't understand that's not about the competition, because when we are talking about exporting products, here we are one team, one Ukrainian team, and here we need to support really each other, because the more Ukraine will be represented outside, the more economy and effectiveness and we will have here. So this is the second very important thing, responsibility really of the business.
Thank you. That's deep. Thank you, Olga. Dmitro, so we talked about clusters. We talked about business more. At Easy Business at Civita, you do a lot of research. You understand quite well how, in general, the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Ukraine looks like. So, could you also elaborate a little bit on the challenges of Ukrainian businesses and how clusters and associations can help overcome those on the way to economic integration with the EU?
It's a very broad question, and I do understand
And
that
you have 5 minutes
it
max.
prevents us from the coffee break and the
Yes.
interactive group sessions where people will have actually opportunity to discuss those challenges in more detail. Short comment on cooperatives versus clusters. They all can actually work, but it depends on the type of businesses that are interacting between each other. It depends on their joint goals. It depends on their understanding of the situation. Because what is very good in cluster, that companies are producing more or less different products joined in one geographical area, and they are searching for some area where they are complementary to each other. What is very good in cooperative, where you basically have a group of smaller enterprises that are not having access to the market, and they are investing jointly in marketing activities, they are investing jointly in supply chain, they are investing jointly in seeds. And there are many examples of successful cooperatives that are working specifically in fruits and berries. If you will travel to Ternopil region or to some other regions that are experiencing this. I've been doing this myself. I've been traveling a lot across the country and trying to identify those success stories and how we can actually build upon. And the major question is to understand how those companies are actually helping each other and how those companies are not competing, but rather looking for synergies. Speaking about challenges, there are a lot of challenges that are related to business associations, to businesses. As you mentioned, we were doing large research on the SME support ecosystem, trying to understand what are the gaps in access to finance markets knowledge. I would say that currently we lack support programs for more mature SMEs in terms of their expert. Sometimes there are not enough support in terms of digitalization and green transition, because now we are entering European Union, and twin transition used to be one of the major elements of the new architecture in the European Union. Now we are talking more about competitiveness. Now we are talking more about economic security. Now we are talking more about some kind of newly emerged value chains that can actually provide EU with an opportunity to reach this kind of open strategic autonomy. But again, we do not need to forget about this twin transition, which is very important. Now, very big challenge that is related to workforce and workforce inclusion, workforce engagement. This is something that we need to think about. We need to create opportunities for Ukrainians to come back. We need to be prepared for better economic integration of socially vulnerable groups. I mean, internally displaced people, women, youth, people with disabilities. We also need to think about potential programs and how Ukrainian SMEs can actually provide more opportunities for war veterans who will come back from the front line and who need to have opportunities to start up the business or to join businesses that are run by SMEs. We need to think about those programs that will actually help to get more focus not only on the grant support but also on the blended finance, on loans and investment, on some venture capital, because now I feel that there is quite large of a gap in this area. Those programs are either not affordable or there is not enough credibility of enterprises to get this support, or there is not enough understanding on how you can actually match it and how you can actually prepare your enterprise to those later stages like private equity funds or some venture groups are actually implementing. So in a nutshell, policy challenges related to economic growth and economic recovery and the EU integration, it's not challenges, it's more like opportunities. How are we going to actually implement it? How are we going to work on EU accession of Ukraine? How we'll find a suitable role for Ukraine's SMEs in EU single market, and what is the role of industry associations and also clusters and also businesses in this process? So this is the one. The second one, targeted support programs that are related to access to markets for more mature SMEs and also for access to finance in terms of blended finance and development of financial markets ecosystem. Third one, to look more at the regional level and not to generalize that this can work and this cannot, because usually it depends from the exact case. It depends from geography. It depends from the sector of economy. It depends from the product. It depends from many other configurations. Because in some configurations you can have like mid cap that is partnering up with those smaller enterprises that are lower in the supply chain, and in this case you can use the cluster. Sometimes you might have some business model where you are seeking for research and development, and you need to have partnership with university, and you need to have some more enterprises that are potentially can formulate this kind of export alliance and be competitive on the global market. Sometimes you have some areas, and this is the clear sign that we need to wrap up our session, not to change it to some kind of open lecture. I would be very happy to talk about this all, but just to wrap up, policy. Then we have targeted support in terms of markets and in terms of finance. Then we have regional focus, which is the key, and customization, which is the key. Then workforce that we need to keep in mind in terms of economic integration of socially vulnerable groups, and also better matching of available skills and available jobs, especially on the regional level. Because in some regions we have a situation where the wages are growing, unemployment is staying the same, which is the clear sign of the huge imbalance on the market. And this is not normal. And that is why we need to look for opportunities for like opening the business, or we need opportunities for vocational education training. We need to look for opportunities to reskilling, upskilling, and so on and so forth. And this is probably it. So we have a lot of different, I wouldn't say that challenges, I would say some room for improvement that we can actually look for potential synergies between business, civil society organizations, clusters, international development partners, and the government, where we can actually prepare us better for economic integration to European Union single markets. And with this, I would like to conclude.
Thank you. That's a good conclusion. We will wrap up now. We have a coffee break, so even though I have a long list of more questions, but I think it's something you can ask the speakers. Hopefully, you stay for the coffee break and maybe for the workshops, and have a discussion further. So, thank you very much, dear speakers. Thank you for sharing your insights from different industries, from different positions, and thank you for your work. Now, organizational question. We are late, a little bit late, but we still want to keep the coffee break like a proper coffee break. So now is 5 minutes to 5. Our coffee break is 20 minutes. So let's meet at 5:15 here. So you go to the coffee break, engage in conversations, have a snack, and then please come back. Please come back, because the workshop part is important. We want to really use your brains and knowledge and insights to gather some insights about how the industries that Metro shared, the promising ones, how we could really benefit further. So please come back. We will not put any pressure on you. It's not going to be an exam. It's going to be fun and engaging. So let's meet in 20 minutes here. You will then meet your moderators of each group. We will tell you who goes where. So the logistics, I don't know, maybe, yeah, I don't know if you want to show yourselves, the moderators, so people know you, how you look. But yeah, doesn't. But they will be. They look good, and they will be here, and they will be here at 5:15. So please come back. And because after the workshops, we have a really nice like dinner and drinks and everything. So yeah. Okay. Thank you very much again. Let's have a round of applause to the panel. Давайте просто по групам. У нас були модератори груп, які швиденько вийдуть і підсумують ті основні інсайти і посили, які були в кожній з груп. Я бачу зараз Вадима. Вадим, ти був тут один із перших, тому, значить, тебе був час трошки подивитися на те, що написано. Значить, група у нас по деревообробці і по меблям. Будь ласка.
Так, у нас всім доброго дня. У нас вийшла така доволі диверсифікована група, де були не лише представники деревообробної і меблевої індустрії, а й інших пов'язаних секторів, і сектору логістики, і сектору будівельних матеріалів. Тому у нас такий, в тому числі, свод вийшов широкий і всеохопний, але тим не менш доволі корисний, на мою думку, з точки зору сильних сторін. Що ми визначили? Ми визначили, що великою перевагою України є доволі доступні ресурси. Так. Доволі доступні ресурси, якщо ми говоримо про робочу силу та про ціни на електроенергію, але в той же час з вартістю сировини, з вартістю деревини є проблеми, багато в чому пов'язані з корупційними ризиками у цій сфері. Так, сировина при цьому є доволі якісною, тому дозволяє виготовляти якісну продукцію. Ми знаходимося в доволі вигідному логістичному становищі для того, щоб експортувати на ринок ЄС, але знову ж таки тут є там суттєві слабкі сторони або загрози, пов'язані з морською логістикою і пов'язані в тому числі з автомобільною логістикою, якщо ми говоримо про, наприклад, про польський кордон, де ми всі знаємо, що були доволі великі проблеми деякий час тому. І крім цього всього, такою важливою перевагою саме наших українських виробників є гнучкість, є адаптивність. Ми можемо доволі швидко приймати рішення і змінювати ці рішення. Натомість, коли наші європейські конкуренти, вони зазвичай є більшими, їм потрібно набагато більше часу для того, щоб адаптуватися до якихось умов, які змінюються. З точки зору слабких сторін, я вже згадав про корупційні ризики, про високу вартість сировини. Також великим недоліком є доступ до фінансів. Знову ж таки, тут ми дуже в неконкурентному становищі перебуваємо порівняно з європейськими конкурентами. Великою можливістю для України може стати підписання угоди ICA, яка дозволить нам простіше виходити на ринок ЄС за рахунок наявності в Україні акредитованих лабораторій. Можливістю може стати відкриття в сусідніх країнах ЄС, таких як Польща, певних логістичних складів для спрощення операцій. І, в принципі, застосування інструменту авторизованого економічного оператора – це також щось, що може допомогти експортерам, але це в першу чергу стосується середніх чи навіть великих компаній. І з точки зору загроз, якщо ми говоримо про загрози, то тут наша група виділила таку конкуренцію з боку китайських товарів, які є більш конкурентними з точки зору цін, в тому числі за рахунок закупівлі сировини з Росії. І також, можна сказати, потенційним ризиком можуть бути зміни вже в самому Європейському Союзі і встановлення певних митних процедур між країнами, які навіть є членами ЄС. Наші учасники обговорення говорили, що такі тенденції в певних країнах вже спостерігаються, але тим не менш основною можливістю для України зрозуміло, що є вступ в ЄС і отримання доступу до європейського спільного ринку. Тому дякую, старався бути коротким і конкретним, але якщо будуть якісь питання, з радістю обговоримо на вечірньому нетворкінгу нашому.
Дякую, Вадим, дякую всій групі. Андрію, в тебе стояла непроста задача, багато учасників, харчова галузь. Будь ласка, прошу презентувати. У вас навіть є фліпчарт, так?
Так, в нас була найбільша група, ось, але ми намагалися при цьому ефективно організувати дискусію і все-таки вийти з якимись результатами. Отже, якщо ми говоримо про сильні сторони харчової галузі, то зрозуміло, що це велика сировинна база, це і великі посівні площі, і збільшення продуктивності, тобто досить багато сировини, з якої можна, власне, виробляти харчову продукцію. Друга сильна сторона – це, власне, сама ця продукція, яка є досить конкурентоспроможною з точки зору ціни і якості. Тобто, попри те, що собівартість цієї продукції вона зростає, але якість також не пасе задніх. І останній пункт, який ми виокремили як сильна сторона, це певний експортний потенціал. Тобто Україна все ще має досить великий запас умовної продукції, з якої можна виходити на міжнародні ринки. Якщо ми говоримо про слабкі сторони, тут в нас їх виділено трошки більше, але при цьому вони не такі масштабні, як сильні, тому все-таки, я думаю, що сильні сторони переважають. Перший пункт, який ми виділили, це доступ до фінансування. Зрозуміло, що через високі ціни кредитів, відсутність рівноцінної грантової чи там якоїсь політики субсидій. Тут українські підприємства мають слабшу сторону, ніж їхні європейські колеги. Другий момент – це кваліфіковані кадри, тобто загалом кадровий дефіцит, він притаманний для всіх галузей, але для сфери харчової промисловості це особливо актуальна проблема. Третій момент, який ми виділили, це наявність тіньової економіки, яка призводить до нерівних конкурентних умов для тих підприємств, які працюють повністю в білу. Наступний момент – це застаріле обладнання, який, як наслідок, веде до певної низької продуктивності праці. І останній момент – це відповідність стандартам Європейського Союзу. Йдеться мова і про фітосанітарні стандарти, і про різні екологічні політики і так далі. Тобто це дійсно є слабкою стороною, тому що це є складні речі, і не всі українські підприємства їм відповідають. Якщо говорити про можливості, тут ми виділили 4 ключові пункти. Перший – це розвиток крафтового виробництва, тобто попит на крафтову продукцію, він невпинно зростає як і на українському ринку, так і на іноземних ринках. Відповідно, це є можливість для вітчизняних виробників. Наступний пункт – це розвиток переробної промисловості, тобто та сировинна база, яка є, вона створює можливості збільшувати і поглиблювати обсяги переробки. Також є можливість виходити на нові ринки збуту, які з тих чи інших причин на даний момент не відкриті ще для українських виробників. І також можливість, яку ми зафіксували, це висока інвестпривабливість українських підприємств, відповідно, майбутній сплеск інвестицій у підприємства галузі. І ключові загрози, які ми виділили, перше – це скасування пільгового режиму, тобто зараз українські виробники харчової продукції мають можливість продавати свою продукцію в країни Європейського Союзу по пільгових умовах. Відповідно, скасування цього пільгового режиму є досить високою загрозою. Зрозуміла загроза – це продовження війни, відповідно, збільшення руйнувань як різних переробних потужностей, так і кількість населення, втрати серед населення є великою загрозою для галузі. І ще 2 пункти – це те, що євроінтеграція, вона буде призводити до збільшення імпорту в окремих продуктових категоріях. Там, наприклад, молочна галузь, вони багато про це говорять, що це є великою загрозою. І, відповідно, українські виробники по деяких позиціях будуть в менш конкурентоспроможних позиціях. І ще один пункт, який тут не записаний – це певна інституційна спроможність українського бізнесу боротися з різними епізодичними загрозами, такими як, нагадайте мені, як ящур. Так.
Дякую, Андрію. Дякую дуже групі по харчовій галузі. Так, Ярославе, прошу твою непросту групу електричного обладнання презентувати. Ви довше всіх працювали, але в тебе небагато часу на презентацію.
Постараюсь бути коротко. Так, в нас виникли технічні складності, пов'язані з тривогою, але це нам не завадило конструктивно поговорити і напрацювати декілька інсайтів. Тож, що стосується електротехнічного обладнання, індустрії загалом, з сильних сторін ми виділили кваліфіковану робочу силу. І тут варто зазначити, що окрім того, що робоча сила кваліфікована, вона з одного боку, на щастя, на жаль, з іншого трохи дешевша, ніж в країнах ЄС, що робить нас більш конкурентоздатними з точки зору собівартості і фінальної ціни. Також у нас є досвід успішних проєктів в країнах ЄС, і варто зазначити, що близько 85% законодавства – це, наприклад, Low Voltage Equipment або Electromagnetic Compatibility вже гармонізовані з директивами відповідними ЄС. Гармонізація законодавства ще згадається тут також. Що стосується слабких сторін, в нас, на жаль, мало тестувальної інфраструктури для виробників. Ми доволі залежні від імпортної сировини, і в нас доволі слабкі ланцюги постачання. Виробники часто намагаються зробити доволі багато in-house. Великою проблемою, слабкою стороною є відсутність єдиної великої асоціації, як, до прикладу, той самий Укрлегпром, який би об'єднував абсолютно там усіх виробників індустрії. Також, що стосується можливостей. Головною можливістю ми визначили це підписання угоди АКА, Agreement on Conformity Assessment, що, по суті, являє собою промисловий безвіз для товарів індустрії. Проте це також є і загрозою, про яку зараз скажу. Можливостями також виступає зелений курс ЄС, енергосервісні контракти, які ми ось нещодавно для багатьох було відкриття. Євроінтеграція саме як процес, і саме з точки зору більшої відкритості партнерів ЄС до українських товарів, більша популяризація, більше людей, компаній знають про Україну, про їх товари і потроху просуваються. Ну і, звісно ж, можливістю виступає новий проєкт JZ, спрямований для підтримки саме даної індустрії. Якщо ж говорити про загрози, та сама згадана АКА, угода про промисловий безвіз, з іншого боку виступає загрозою, бо так само, як українські виробники зможуть безперешкодно експортувати свої товари в ЄС, так само європейські виробники зможуть експортувати свої товари до України і трохи відбирати частку ринку українського. На жаль, війна також залишається великою загрозою, тому що партнери ЄС часто через це не хочуть підписувати саме великі контракти, вбачають великі ризики. Також ми визначили, що у нас є загроза, як просто загроза перетворитися на виробників на давальницькі сировини. В нас є успішні приклади виробництва деталей та проводки для автомобілів на Західній Україні, але ми, так, це товари з більшою доданою вартості, проте ми як країна все ж таки хочемо робити фінальні продукти, експортувати їх в ЄС і по всьому світі. Ну і фінально, це сильна конкуренція в ЄС, це також виступає як одна із загроз. В принципі, на цьому в мене все, тож дякую учасникам воркшопу за дані інсайти, дякую, що долучились.
Та, Ярослава, я попрошу вас тільки з Аліною помінятися, перекласти Хагену. Аліна, прошу тебе представити текстильну галузь. Ох, скільки паперу.
Так, в нас була текстильна індустрія, нас було небагато, але в нас були дуже запеклі баталії і дискусії. Ми набрейнштормили багато чого. Текстильна індустрія досить сильна, і в першу чергу ми говорили про креативність і майндсет українських текстильних виробників, які можуть дуже сильно позмагатися з європейськими виробниками. Ми говорили про те, що текстильна продукція має дуже високу якість виробництва саме тут в Україні порівняно з європейською. І в нас насправді дуже класна підготовка кадрів, яка починається в профтехосвіті і закінчується вже безпосередньо на самих виробництвах. Що важливо, українські виробники текстильні дуже гнучкі і швидко переорієнтовуються. В нас, знову ж таки, добре чи погано, але собівартість порівняно з європейськими підприємцями і підприємствами значно нижча. Ну і відповідно через це є кращий доступ до європейських ринків. І я тут поговорю зараз про можливості, а не про слабкі сторони, тому що серед можливостей для українських виробників це є, по-перше, низькі бар'єри для входу. І за рахунок наших угод торгівельних і за рахунок якості виробництва в нас також є унікальна експертиза в дизайнерському одязі, і про українських дизайнерів знають по всьому світу, і це насправді полегшує доступ для інших так само на ринки. Є дуже великий фокус і потреба в sustainability, про що, власне, яка є, і це є можливістю для наших підприємців. Ну і last but not least, як кажуть, в можливостях зараз є багато різних грантових можливостей для українських МСБ і, зокрема, в текстилі, тому це теж додаткова перевага. Тепер про слабкі сторони. В нас недостатньо, та в принципі не те, щоб дуже було виробництво сировини в Україні, і відповідно в нас нема повного ланцюга доданої вартості, що дуже від чого українські текстильні підприємства дуже потерпають, і відповідно в нас немає цього повного ланцюга виробництва, і будь-які логістичні проблеми можуть бути величезними перешкодами. В нас недостатньо кваліфікованих кадрів, і також нема прозорості в усіх ланках виробництва, тобто виробники не бачать прозорості від сировини і до готових продуктів. Із перешкод це потенційно неякісні матеріали, бо ми їх не виробляємо, а імпортуємо. Відсутність власного виробництва тканини і свого ринку, який був би відомий. І ми, я не знаю, щось ніхто не говорив про рекомендації, але ми зрозуміли, що в текстильній індустрії не вистачає кластерів і асоціацій, які б представляли інтереси виробників. І, зокрема, навіть не те, що це була б наша рекомендація тієї групи, про яку ми говорили, про те, щоб більший фокус точковий на певні асоціації, кластери, наприклад, Sustainability Textile Industry або будь-яка інша. Ну і більше можливостей для представлення продукції, участі в виставках і навчання та обмін досвідом з підприємцями ЄС.
Так, дякую, Аліна. Я представляю останню галузь IT, і потім ми ще швиденько виведемо на екран людей, які були онлайн. Там, виявляється, багато людей працювали. Але я думаю, що ми зараз за 5 хвилин все оправимося. Сильні сторони IT – люди, їх скіли, тобто human capital, адаптивність, те, що у нас якби менше регуляцій, ми можемо більше експериментувати в українському просторі, це поштовх до інновацій. Також оподаткування, наша ФОПівська третя група, славно відома. І в цілому достатньо висока інтеграція IT-спеціалістів в європейський простір, просто єдине, що на аутсорсі. Слабкі сторони військові, ну, я думаю, це для всіх однаково. Так само тепер людські ресурси як слабка складова, відток кадрів. Галузь недоотримує податки, враховуючи нашу таку ФОПівську третю групу. У нас акцент на аутсорсі, мало продуктів, слабке розуміння загального контексту, проблеми з сертифікацією, ліцензуванням і IP, Intellectual Property Rights. Ризики, ми дуже довго сперечалися на рахунок штучного інтелекту, чи це більше можливості, чи ризики. Питання теж штучного IP, як ризики потенційно. Ми, якщо не будемо нічого робити з захистом прав власності, то буде дуже складно. Конкуренція зі сторони більш дешевого аутсорсу в інших країнах. Зміни в освіті і потенційно менше навчання, яке сфокусовано на підготовці спеціалістів. Ну і ризики людського ресурсу далі дуже вірогідно буде відтік. Можливості – це спробувати замінити інші країни на інших ринках. Це штучний інтелект, це створення продуктів, і Military and Defense використати цю можливість. І те, що Україна може бути в нормальному значенні testing field, таким якби для різних продуктів і можливостей. Ми теж зробили роботу по асоціаціям, по кластерам. Я хочу це назвати, бо мені здається, це хороші інсайти. Допомога в продажах, тобто це, в принципі, те, що ми робили в цьому проєкті. Маркетинг, продажі – це важко, ми теж багато про це говорили, це дуже важко, але це те, що важливо. Це підсилення колаборації транссекторальної в цілому з іншими кластерами, бо IT, наприклад, міг би допомагати іншим, працювати в інших галузях. Якби була ця співпраця, це було би добре. Це поширення lessons learned серед тих членів, які вже виходять на європейські ринки, і також в цілому JAR, але думаю, що в цьому вони більш-менш справляються. Я намагалась бути швидкою просто через час. Якщо будуть якісь питання, підходьте, давайте говорити. Василь, будь ласка, представ нам онлайн-групу. Дякую. В тебе 3 хвилини.
Супер. Доброго дня, колеги. Нас було 16. Тому дуже важливо представити цих людей. Були представлені всі сектори, всі 4, 5 не був, крім деревообробки. Всі інші були. Але ми з моїм колегою Віталієм спробували підсумувати спільні речі для усіх. Щодо сильних сторін, і частково їх вже називали, спрощений доступ до ринку ЄС, територіальна близькість, так чи інакше сильна підтримка української діаспори, висока якість продукції, висококваліфікована робоча сила, те, що називалося. І високий інтерес з боку європейських компаній до окремих секторів. Наприклад, там Military Tech, Defense Tech і так далі, це вже детальніше. Щодо слабких сторін. Слабкі сторони English. Англійська мова, інвестиції у неї, English і, до речі, консалтинг. Тобто не всі знають, як користуватися послугами консалтингу для свого підприємства. Що ще цікаво? Гроші, фінансування, високі кредитні ставки, недостатній розвиток венчурного ангельського інвестування, etc. Доступ до ЄС, до ринку ЄС, сертифікація, експертиза. Недостатній рівень експертизи для експорту, побудови експортної стратегії і так далі. І що ще важливо, нетворкінг, і для чого ви всі тут, тобто побудова зв'язків, я б сказав, нетворкінг – це всі сторони, це 360. Тобто це і слабка, і сильна сторона, дивлячись від індустрії, і можливість, і слабкий нетворкінг як загроза. І останні 2 блоки можливості. Досить цікаво, колеги згадували про потенціали деяких секторів. Дуже цікава думка про joint ventures, спільні підприємства і партнерства. Наприклад, в електротехніці, але можуть бути в інших галузях. І що ще цікавого, це по можливостям, що вже існують програми підтримки експорту, SMEs, і українські, і ЄС, власне, проєкт, який сьогодні Іванка, колеги GIZ представляли, це кластери і об'єднання так само, як можливість використовувати нетворк, зв'язки і спільно просувати свої продукти, інтереси на виставках, на європейських інших ринках. І, знову ж таки, це вже наявна підтримка держорганів і донорів. І серед загроз, багато чого вже згадували, політична нестабільність, наслідки війни, логістичні проблеми і турбулентності, тому що ми знаємо, що в авторитарних країнах все стабільно, а у наших країнах-партнерах відбуваються демократичні вибори, і ми не знаємо їх результату, і як це може впливати на нас. Тобто Німеччина, Франція, Нідерланди, Польща – всюди демократичні вибори з невідомим для нас результатом. Тому на це теж треба звертати увагу. Все, колеги, дуже дякую активній онлайн-групі. Всім дякую за роботу. Дякую.
Дякую, Василь, дякую всім. Ми затрималися на півгодини, за що я вибачаюся. Дякую, що залишалися з нами, але сподіваюся, що ви встигнете насолодитися не кавабрейком, дрінками і вечерею. І давайте поспілкуємося вже безпосередньо там. Там саме, де була кавабрейк. Дякую вам ще раз і давайте знаходити одне одного онлайн. Якщо є якісь побажання, якщо є якісь рекомендації, давайте бути на зв'язку. Гарного вечора.